Alright, we're live. Gonna make sure I have sound this time. Alright, we're live. Okay, great. So this is take two. If there is anybody in the chat at any time, I may flip back and forth from it. I don't really have a second monitor, so that makes it very difficult. But I'm checked. There is sound. Sound is what we want. I don't really... I hope that it doesn't matter. This is muted over here. It hasn't on any of my other things. If it's not muted, I don't get it. Anyways, I've come online, and this will end up being recorded, and I'll pass it around after that too, since maybe people are just on their way home from work if they're on my time zone. But I wanted to hop on. This is a second take at an ad hoc video. I called this one Summary Judgment instead of my usual full circle that you're accustomed to seeing me do. And the reason is I want to talk about another miniatures game, and the miniatures game is called Judgement, and I thought calling it Summary Judgment would be clever, so I did. Cool. So anyways, I want to talk through their Kickstarter and frankly why I'm really excited for their game. It's something new, it's something unique, and it's something I'm super excited for. And they didn't ask me to do this. They didn't ask me to do it last night when I screwed it up either. I'm just excited. I want to help them get their Kickstarter to go. I want to play the game as soon as possible, really, which is sort of theoretically right now. But so that's sort of the situation. I'm going to pull up their Kickstarter. Hopefully, again, like I said, I still have sound. I'm going to go over to this display. And as you can see, this is their Kickstarter page. So they also have, pardon me, a website, which is judgement.game. I didn't know you could get a .game till now, but that's really cool. So awesome things about this Kickstarter and what I'm excited about. So since you couldn't hear, and you may not know this from my normal videos where I talk about War Machine and Hordes, and specifically Circle Oberos on my Full Circle channel, Judgement is a skirmish-sized game which is based on a MOBA. For those of you who don't know, MOBA stands for Multiplayer Online Battle Arena. It's a genre of video games typically, things like Heroes of the Storm, League of Legends, Dota, Smite. There's some others I'm not too up on. Those are the ones I know. And that concept online is sort of action coupled with RPG-esque elements and real-time strategy-esque elements with some like manual things you need to do in the game skill-wise to keep it going. And I play a lot of Heroes of the Storm. I really love the game. It's kind of what I do when I want to game and I can't go to the game store or get a game going. Pardon my very vocal husky in the background. And I really love MOBAs. There's a lot of strategy to them. There's a lot of uniqueness to them. Every character in a MOBA should be unique and give you a really great, difference in how it plays, and also build into an overall strategy for your group. So, frankly, I'm amazed that there hasn't been another tabletop game based on MOBAs. And kudos to these guys for doing it, because I think it's an awesome idea and I'm glad to see it out there. So that's what the game's based on. And the next thing that's worth note is, and this is really, so that first part is what is cool about the game, makes the game fun to play, makes me really excited to try it out. The part that makes me excited to get behind this Kickstarter is the part I'm highlighting, which is that it has a 54mm scale. If you play War Machine and Hordes, they're basically it's either 28 or 32mm scale, and obviously like a humanoid model is on a 30mm base. Imagine if those humanoid models were scaled up to be about the size of your Warjack or War Beasts. I'm sure there's some equivalent for things like 40K and whatnot, but I don't play those, so you'll have to ask somebody who does what the scale is. But basically, you're talking about a much larger humanoid model, and frankly, that's awesome. It allows on the table, and this game's played on a 2-foot diameter or 3-foot diameter circle. And what that's going to do is, from a distance, this game is going to be very striking. It's going to be very visually amazing. I, as you know from watching my channel, live with a fantastic painter. So I saw this and immediately was like, we want this, right? And that was rhetorical even at that point. So, and I'm just going to flip over here to YouTube real quick. Let's see, no one's in the chat. So, so that is what drew me to the game. The rules and the concept, like, I would have been like, oh, cool, somebody's finally doing a MOBA-based RPG game. That's really cool, and I may have passed this Kickstarter by. Like, coupling that with these 54mm models, and I have not really ever been excited for most Kickstarters I saw, and I'm very excited for this. So let's just scroll on through, kind of see what they've got going on. So, as you can see down here, they've got some awesome illustrations. This is Bastion, one of the characters. It's a 2-player game. I suppose maybe down the road they could have a mode that's for more than 2, but I see this being a 1v1 sort of situation. As you can see, here are some of the miniatures. I was just talking about how amazing the sculpts are. These are models that they've gotten painted that are actual models. This is the cast. This base is a 50mm base, so if that gives you a reference point for how large these models are, pretty hefty from what I've seen in their videos. And the amount of detail is just fantastic, right? You can't get this level of intricacy into a 30mm model, and if you do, it usually ends up being amazingly too busy. So, I mean, this is Bastion. These are sort of the first 4 models they've had painted. Bastion, Rakir, Asteriel, and I believe Thrommel is the dwarf's name. And then this is Gloom. Gloom's a neutral monster, another really cool aspect of the game. So in a MOBA, if you don't play, they have sort of neutral minion camps or monster camps, or whatever you want to call them. And by defeating those, you get something. In this game, they will give you a level and the ability, I believe, the ability to buy items. Some MOBAs don't have items, but a lot do. So that's an aspect. So this is actually a render. This is not yet a model that they've produced, or they've got a produced copy of. This is another one. This is a Minotaur. So and this highlights really their races to start with. So they have humans, orcs, elves, dwarves, monsters, as I mentioned, and Minotaurs. So they have 5 races. And it's important to note that the races don't matter in the game. So, I mean, they're cool, and they're going to have unique stuff about them, I would imagine. But if you've played a MOBA, what you realize is there's no factions, right? There are classifications, which we'll get to. But if you're playing in this game, and the game is 3 versus 3 or 5 versus 5, and you could play a Minotaur, elf, human. You can play an orc, elf, orc. You could play 3 humans. You could play 3 dwarves. You could play any combination. It doesn't matter. If you go to 5v5, you could play any number of them. And in fact, at release, at launch, the first 10, you wouldn't possibly be able to play even 3v3, I don't think. We'll see when I scroll through with just one race. Another thing that means is in this game there's no factions. So yeah, maybe you really like dwarves or orcs or something, and you're gonna collect those, and that's great, that's fine. But there's no, like, you know, in War Machine I play Circle Orboros, and I collect Circle Orboros things, and I'm sort of like a Circle Orboros player, and the line is frankly just way too big for me to try to get competitive with every faction, and that's fine. That's great for that game. And for this game, what's really great about it is there's no factions. So if some piece I think is really strong, or the model's really cool and I want to see it painted, or I just want to keep up with the game, you can play anything. It's all up to the strategy and tactics that you want to play in the game when you're picking or drafting your warband. So the 4 that are here, or 5 rather, this could be my five-man team. They come out with another 5 heroes. I could dump all 5 of these, play them. I could just drop Thrommel and play some other dwarf or something, and that's great. It's great because what it means is there's no like inherent playing field, right? You know, if you've played any game for any amount of time, you're like, oh, this faction's OP or this faction's just crap. Like, there isn't any of that here. You may find a hero doesn't work for you, or maybe one is a little too powerful, but then that's fine. Then you just add that to your warband and move on, right? They have said they're going to have a patching system and things like that, but it's a really awesome thing for the game. And then I'm just going to kind of keep scrolling through here. So each hero comes with 2 cards. They look kind of like this. Let me see if there's an example of one. Here's a PDF of hero cards. So we'll just look at the first one. If it loads, sorry I didn't work on this. So Alandir, who's actually a stretch goal, he has a card, and you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 cards that you see here, which is really two front and backs. For each hero, they're going to look like that. And you can see each hero will get one. They've got some different colors. I believe the different colors denotate race in some regard. You see a bunch of stats here, movement, agility. Movement's in inches. Everything's measured in inches in the game again. One really cool thing is pretty much every model in the game is 50 millimeters, and every token is 25 millimeters. Very consistent, which is awesome. You can see here, and I'm only going to really gloss over this, but like these are damage numbers here, and they're not variable. There are things that can affect them, but the baselines are not variable. So it's not like you're rolling 2 dice worth of damage or 3 dice. This is, you take 2, take 3, take 4. And I think that's, they talk about this in one of their videos, which I recommend you watch, but I think that's nice because there are other random factors in the game, but having too many random factors kind of takes too much strategy out of it, or makes your strategies not matter enough. And finding that balance point, I think, is very important. Additionally, we'll go over this as we get down to stuff, but there are different, you see on here, there's different classifications. So I'm pointing at my screen like you can see me, but one of the other very awesome things about this game is they're going the route that a lot of other games have gone, which is the rules are out there. You want to see if you like this game? Play it. There are paper dolls, the tokens are here, the hero cards are there, the monster cards are there. Everything you need to play the game exists and is right here in the Kickstarter. The whole rule book, every card, the maps, etc. They're all right there. So if you're not sure if you like it, play a couple games. If it's not a visual aspect and it's a gameplay aspect, play the games. I've pushed around a few models. I really like it already, and I barely got a chance to play. I've got the paper dolls printed out. I'm hoping this week a local or two maybe to actually do it. If something interesting comes to that, I'll maybe do another video. Bounce over to YouTube again just to see if anybody. Nope. Hoping that I'm not muted this time. So, and I'm actually just gonna quick double check. Oh, sorry. I think I paused my stream. They're all right there. So if you're not sure if, yep, all right. Great. Sorry. Normally wouldn't do that in a video, but with only one monitor, want to make sure everything is copacetic. So, sort of talks about a few different things. There's different levels, artifacts, monsters. They talk about the races and classes, so I already mentioned the races. They have 4 classifications in the game: supporter, defender, aggressor, and soul gazer. There's no rule as to how many of each of those you would want in your warband. My guess is you probably are not going to find a ton of success with 5 or 3 of just one type, but maybe you will. There might be something to that. And you know, as more come out, I'm sure those lines may get a little more gray than they start. So you might be able to do some of that, but you'll probably want some mix of those, and they're all going to bring different things to the battlefield for you. So supporters are obviously going to support you, defenders are going to absorb more damage than they give out, aggressors are going to give out more than they can absorb, and soul gazers are another utility class that helps you sort of win the objective and stuff. As far as combat, I started alluding to it, but they do have custom dice, which I actually kind of like. They're D6s, so there's nothing like crazy about it. It's not like they've got some random like 13-sided die or whatever, but this allows their system to be consistent. You could just use d6s. If you go from left to right, it's the 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 on the dice face. So on the die face, whichever. And these just tell you sort of how combat goes. The J is a combination of the two symbols you see to the two different symbols you see after it. The blank ones are just misses. You have your combat maneuvers, and you have hits. And the number of hits you get determines how much damage based on the grid. Judgment counts as both, and there are various combat maneuvers you can do if you get that. So it's really cool. The dice are part of the Kickstarter. You can get a hold of them. If you really don't, you could use d6s. But I think these are nice. I think they're much more thematic. I also like that they're consistent. One really cool thing with the dice mechanic too, though, is you could roll 1 to 3 million of these, and you only get to take 3 of them. Of course, you roll 3 million, you're probably going to be able to pick 3 J's out of there. But that's really cool because it means that what scales, you're just giving yourself more opportunity the more dice you can roll, not really changing what you can do, right? I could roll 3 of these and get 3 J's, and that's just as strong as if I roll 10 of them and get 3 J's. It's just more likely the more dice I roll, the better it's going to be. But you only pick 3. You can't have more than that. I think you can have less, but it's really cool. Fate is sort of their way to buy things, namely items, and some characters have abilities that use it, so that's really cool. Pick and ban is going to be something that's really cool for this game as well. So if you've played a MOBA at all competitively or watch any competitive MOBA play, they tend to have like a draft, and part of that is the ability to ban a hero out. And what this does is, it lets you sort of build a strategy. So what it lets you do as the person banning, I should say, is it lets you build a strategy where if there's a certain character or certain ability that is going to hinder your composition, then you can say, I'm going to ban that. If something is currently in your meta sort of like overpowered or you don't know how to answer it, you can ban it. It's going to help keep the game a little bit balanced without having in between errata timelines, because again, if something's too powerful, you can either play it or you can ban it. And then conversely, as a player, what it means is, or as the person who's going to be banned or have a model banned, it also means that this game is going to be about strategy, not about somebody else dictating to you that, or not about you dictating like, well, I've got this overpowered thing and I'm just going to win. Because if you do that, your friends or whoever you're playing with or a tournament you go to, they're just going to ban the model that is like the linchpin, that is potentially the linchpin to your strategy, and now you've got to come up with a new way to play. So it means you're always going to have to be playing different things and staying on your toes and whatnot. There's a couple ways I've seen with the rules that they do this. One is sort of to have, if you're playing a 3v3, for example, you may just have all 10 of the Kickstarter heroes out there, and you're going to alternate. Each of you will ban one, and then each of you alternate selecting until you both have your groups of 3. So there'll be 2 banned, 6 selected, and then 2 that are just not used at the end. If you go to a tournament and bring your own models, you might have, you'll bring 7, and then your opponent will ban one of your 7, you'll ban one of their 7, and then you'll select your warband from the 6 of your 7. You can do the same thing if you bring 5 in a 3v3 scenario. So that's really cool. Their map, I mentioned, they are circles with either a 2 or 3 foot diameter, depending on the size of the game. So 3v3 is 2 foot diameter, 5v5 is a 3 foot diameter. Here's an example of one of them. And I'll get down to the rewards, but they have awesome neoprene style maps like this that are available as part of the Kickstarter, which is really cool, and I think it's a really nice way to play. Anybody who's played like Guild Ball, for example, uses a pitch, and I think that concept's really great. I'm just going to kind of scroll through some stuff. They've got some video tutorials here. Take a look. They've put a couple full games up here, which is pretty awesome. I still need to watch these new ones. They had some older ones. And then we get into the heroes. So there's 10 available right away. You can get, with the Kickstarter options, you can get 1 to 10 of them. And I believe you can add 46 Aussie bucks and get more if you wish. So just to kind of go through, some of these have models like Rakir here, so he's a rogue aggressor. You've got Bastion, who's a human support guy. And like I said, you can see these will load a little faster maybe. Again, all of their cards, if they ever load, not reading it up on that. Anyways, their cards are available right there, so you can see the rules right away. Stereo's a fire mage, another aggressor. And they've got a little blurbs about it here too, so that's kind of nice. Gives you a sense of what they'll do even before you play the game. Thrommel, who is a defender, dwarf warrior. We've got Doan Rakar, another defender, but this one's a Minotaur shaman, and again, sort of talks about what he does, a blend between defender and supporter, which is kind of neat. Zarin Bogdan, a human necromancer. Saiyan, which the concept art for her might be my favorite with the cool souls. I'm sort of already visualizing what this model will look like and like some OSL on it. That's going to be great. I didn't talk about this. I'm going to go back up here. One of the cool things about these are these bases come with the model, and they've asked for their just checking something real quick. They've asked for their sculptor to cut them so that like where this foot attaches to the base will be separate, so you can separate it here, or it is separate here. So you could use this base, you know, if you just want the base for some reason, that would be maybe a little odd, but you could just use a base, or if you want to, you know, you really love Rakir, but you want to do a custom base, then you can do that, and it's not going to be any fuss of having to sort of have this awkward place to cut his foot off, or you know, Bastion's a little more straightforward, but again, this base is separate, but it does come with, which is cool, and something to factor in when you're looking at the price of these. And I mentioned basically that each one comes down to 46 Aussie bucks, but if I do the conversion, and it varies from day to day, it seems like a little bit, but if I do the conversion to US dollars, I find that each of these models is essentially around $30 to $35, which is a very basic heavy Warple or War Beast or Warjack kit from like Privateer, and the detail on them is much closer to like the character models, in my opinion, which often are almost twice that. Full resin, and you don't get bases a lot of times with them. They don't really do bases anymore. So you're getting this base as part of it. You're getting it. So I think they're right in line with the price. I think that's a slight discount from what their retail will go for when they go forward. So keep that in mind. If you're interested in the game, you might save a few bucks by backing it. But anyways, we'll just go through some more. Cruel there, Shaman. You got the kind of standardy knight looking guy, but again, look at the detail on this drawing. I'm imagining the model will look fantastic. Thorgar here, fantastic looking Minotaur Shaman. They say Minotaur in Australia, so maybe they say it in England too. I don't know. We say Minotaur here in the US. Yeah, so there's that, and then here's the pledge levels to talk about. If you're just looking to paint a model, and I think if you're a painter, this is amazing. I'm hoping I can maybe convince my wife, who is Griffin's Roost Painting, to maybe talk about why these are awesome for painters at some point. She's doesn't tend to love cameras, but maybe we'll see if I can convince her. But she was drawn to this immediately too. She's like, these models are going to be amazing to paint. So anyways, maybe you just want to paint one model, 46 Aussie bucks, and it's yours. You can get 3. This is sort of the minimum to actually start playing. You can play 3v3 if you get at least 3. Obviously, you won't have the option to do a pick and ban at this point, but that's okay. If you just want to get your feet wet and there's a few models you want to paint, you want to play the game, there you go. You go up to 5, and sort of this is you're getting into the competitive minimum here, I would say. Also, all the stretch goals are available. The free stretch goals are available with this. So this is sort of a key step up point, I would say. And you'll see when I get to the stretch goals why. But I think this is a critical level. So if you really think you like the game, I would say this is where you want to start looking. And again, this translates to US dollars pretty favorably. And is in line with what you'd be paying. This is still going to cost you less than a buy into a faction in War Machine, like for a single list. So keep that in mind. Then you start going to tournament pack. You get some free dice there. The gamers pack sort of comes with all of the things you need, and is I forget which you get. Oh, went the wrong way. You get 6 heroes there. So that'll let you do 2 3v3s with your buddy, or you can go to a tournament, you can add one more to this, etc. It'll also give you the book, the dice, the tokens, and the 2-foot cardboard map. So it does the board game thing where it like does the double folding. And they've got some suggestions here, which I think is really nice. It'll help you get a nice balanced idea of what to play, which I like. And then of course the I want it all. So you get the stretch goals, the dice, all 10 heroes and tokens at this price level. I thought you get a book too. Maybe it says it down here. Okay, guess not. There's some retailer options. So if you know a retailer who would like to stock this right away, let them know. And then the stretch goals down here. So the big one, especially with where they're at, I think this is pretty achievable. And if we can get there, everybody who backed at a high enough level to get the free stretch goals is going to get themselves a Gloom. And this model looks pretty awesome. Neutral monster. You may eventually want multiples of it, but yeah, really cool. I'm very excited for that. And then you get more. So they actually, if you went on their website, they have 20 heroes already, and all but one of them I think are listed here as stretch goals. So we'll see if maybe they get to any of them. If they do, and you want to pick one of them up, and you get like you have like the pack of 5, and you really want the first one instead of one of the ones there, you can switch them in too. And then here's another neutral monster if they get all the way down there. I mentioned the dice add-on, the rulebook add-on. You can get the cards added on here if you just want to get cards. Apparently there's 2 bonus heroes in there, so that's kind of a neat thing if you want to get that. Tokens, I mentioned the folding gaming board, and this is the neoprene battle map. They do have a note here. If you are not in Australia and you want this, talk to them. But I would say from my conversations with them, the shipping is extraordinarily reasonable here, and overall. So I didn't mention that, but the shipping from Australia is still super reasonable. I looked at the price, and I think it's costing me more for the last Kickstarter that I got for shipping in the US, like by a considerable margin. And I think there's more stuff there, but not tons. And yeah, so shipping's totally reasonable. The price is very favorable. Anyways, I am super excited for this game. I'm hoping I can get a chance to play it. The fact that it is coming out already in September is also pretty fantastic. I don't normally get behind Kickstarters. I'm very excited for this one. So back them if you can. With them coming out in September, I imagine they're already trying to line up retailers as well, and distribution deals if they need to. So that's going to be really awesome. They've got tokens, they've got mats. Like, this game is very well thought out from the beginning, and it's coming from guys who've played a lot of war games. It's coming from, been play tested by a lot of competitive Australian War Machine players, and most of the guys that were on the winning WTC team, for example, are on there. And I've talked with a couple of them in the past. They know their stuff. They know games. Glad that they play tested it. They're very excited about it. One of them just wrote an awesome article on Museum Minis. Take a look. In fact, he just won a major event in War Machine. He's like, I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about this. So if that gives you an indication of how excited they are about this game and how excited I am about this game, I think that will help you. As I start to play it, I have a hard time just using the paper models. I like the visual pieces, so it might be a little bit before I'm really putting content out beyond sort of this like fluffy, I'm talking about it, high level video like this. Obviously I'll maybe try to find another background and we'll do, instead of some random art and a speaker and some nonsense back here, I'll try to get my green screen going and everything. But I'm really excited. I'm really excited that I'm pretty sure this has sound this time. I'm really excited to get my hands on this. It's coming in September already. If you've ever kicked anything, that turnaround is fantastic, and it tells me that this Kickstarter isn't like a lot of Kickstarters are like, I think we can do this. No, they know they can do this. They're trying to get the funding to do it faster, to get it in our hands, to get this awesome game out there. I'm really excited. I hope you're really excited. The link is to their Kickstarter is right here, but just search for Judgement, a MOBA-inspired 54mm miniatures game. pardon me, their website is judgement.games, so you can get more information there. And as always, if you have any questions or comments for me, feel free to leave them, and I'll see what I can do for you. And we'll hopefully be back maybe tomorrow night with Full Circle like normal. We'll see. I'm trying to get some practice in before HEC. But anyways, this is Judgment. This is my summary judgment. I'm hilarious, apparently. And I hope you check it out. I hope you can back it. I'm excited to potentially play it with you if you do. And until the next time, thanks for watching.